Hi, it's Moira. Great to see you again.
Hi, and it's Ginny. I'm glad to see you too. Hi, Moira.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. The reason we decided to do another one of our tarot talks, Ginny and I, was because a few weeks ago she was kind enough to do a tarot open house. And at the very last, toward the very end, somebody asked a really great question about what about all the bad cards that are there, like the Hanging Man and the Tower struck by lightning? Those are so scary. So Ginny gave a really good answer about that on the call, but she followed it up with an email afterwards saying, with all humility, I wasn't really happy with my answer. Let me go into a little more detail about that. And I thought it was so brilliant what
Oh,
Ginny had to
thank
say
you.
that I thought, I think helping people get a different perspective on bad cards as they seem could be really helpful to anybody interested in tarot. So here we are today to talk about three of the bad cards. What are
Mhm.
we going to be looking at, Ginny?
We're going to be looking at the Tower card, and we're going to be looking at the Hanged Man or the Hanged One, and then we're going to be looking at the Three of Swords. So we're going to look at those three cards. And but first, I want to talk a little bit about we want to bring this back to confidence and the way that what you do and what I do intersects, because we keep finding that it does.
It totally does.
Or it does, absolutely. And and but I want to talk for just a second about something called the reticular activating system, right?
Right.
Right. It is a place in the back of your brain it regulates how you see things. It regulates the information. We can't possibly process all the information that comes into our brains every day. So we tell our brains what to filter and what to pay attention to. It's like if you have a baby in the house, you can sleep through a train going by outside your door, but you can't sleep through that baby making one sound. You wake up because you have trained your mind that that's what's important. And it's also what we do when we're looking at the way we perceive the world. And you talked about right perception, Moira.
Yes.
Would you talk about that a little bit first before we talk about these cards?
I'd love to. Thank you. I'm a student of the Course in Miracles, among other things, and one of its lasting lessons that stayed with me is the only miracle you ever need to pray for is the miracle of right perception. Because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I love the way that the miracle of right perception, which I pray for probably 10 times every day, is that it gets me out of, oh gosh, I've got this problem mode and into, this is what's going on. What would be useful? What would be helpful? What would be the most skillful action to take? What would be the smartest way to look at this?
Mhm.
So it makes me more receptive to guidance coming to me from wherever it is. It makes me more receptive to finding a solution instead of marinating in grief, anger, and misery over the problem.
Right.
So the
It
way I
gives you
step
it
up,
gives you some
yeah,
objectivity.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, absolutely. It helps you step into objectivity, and that's what I see with the tarot cards and how they can help you to find the miracle of right perception of what the card is showing you or what is happening in your life.
Well, the deal is, how can the cards help you? That's why you're doing a reading. That's why you're pulling a card. How can the card make you see something differently? How can it draw your attention to something? So if you're looking for, if you see something, if something comes up and you see, oh, this is a bad message, and you can flip it and you can look at it for how can I use this information constructively? Then there are no bad cards.
Yes.
So, okay. All right. I have three different decks today for us. I have the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is the standard deck. I have the Steampunk deck, which is by Barbara Moore and Ali Fell. And it uses some of the same iconography. And then I have the Gaian deck, which is by Joanna Powell Colbert. And it is a very earth-centered deck. And remember, we're talking about not just perceiving things, but we talked about the reticular activation system. We're going science and woo-woo and all of these things together here. So which keep overlapping more and more as we learn more.
Yes.
Science is overlapping with things that science and magic are overlapping, which we thought they wouldn't, and they have. So here we are. Let's start with that tower card that you mentioned, Moira.
Yes.
This is a card where, I'm trying to keep the glare off of it. This is a card where a tower is being struck by lightning. This is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And here we have, and you can see there are figures falling from the tower, and there is lightning coming down.
Looks like pretty bad news.
Yeah, yeah. And here it is in the steampunk deck.
Wow. Even
And this
more
is
drama.
pretty much the same thing. You know, we're looking at lightning, we're looking at things falling, we're looking at some things staying, other things falling. And here it is in the Gaian deck. And again, we have lightning. This one's called lightning. And we have lightning coming down, and we have, okay, think about this. You immediately see this and you think, ooh, scary. Ooh, it's often read as catastrophe. It's often read as, oh, this is going to be a terrible thing. But let me ask something. What happens when you're inspired? What happens when you're inspired to create something? What happens when somebody flips on the lights when it's been dark?
The aha moment, the bolt of inspiration coming from
Right. Right. And we talk about that. What about Cupid's arrow?
the
So it depends on how you look at this card. What can be happening? Is there going to be sudden change? Probably. You're working with the energy of sudden change here. But does that have to be a catastrophe? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it can be a change. I think it can be the energy of change, of sudden change that you can work with in order to change something in a way that you want to.
I love how you're leading us to right perception here of this looks like catastrophe and it's actually opportunity.
Yes, yes, because sudden change can be either. And who controls what it is? You know, who controls how we look at it? Who controls how we perceive it? Who controls how we take that sudden change and use it? Okay. All
How
right.
empowering is that? I love
Yes.
that.
Here's another one. This is the excuse me, the Hanged Man. And I immediately want to change it to the Hanged One because these cards have no gender. This is just because this deck was drawn in 1909. So this is the hang. You see, this is someone hanging upside down. They have a halo around their head.
They do.
See? And they are in a position where they don't really look in much stress.
Yeah, it looks
They're
kind of
pretty
like
relaxed.
pose upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are.
It's pretty, it looks pretty much like yoga, doesn't it? Here is the steampunk deck. Again, we have the halo.
Lovely.
In the form of the stained glass window. And here we have the Gaian deck. This one's called the Hanged One.
That looks very zen.
Very, very. Okay, so how is this card read? This may be one of the most controversial cards in the deck. It is read as willing sacrifice. It is read as suffering. It is read as torture. It is read as stagnation. It is read in a lot of negative ways, but it is also read as stillness, as perhaps enlightenment, as perhaps can we think of this as we are still because we are learning something. We are still because we are accepting wisdom. You often see this card where the head of the Hanged One is outside the frame or is below the level of the earth. absorbing wisdom. The hanged one is rarely in a position where they look like they are suffering. They usually look like they're meditating or celebrating. All the way back to this old deck.
That is remarkable. I love how you distinguish between stillness and stagnation. Two very different energies, the way you express that, all in one card.
Yes, yes. And even in this very old deck, what's happening here?
Something holy.
What is happening here? Yeah, yeah. And we can go back in cultures. I mean, how many times have cultures, have many cultures hung their heroes on trees, either right side up or upside down?
Mhm.
Odin, I mean, we can go back that far. We can come forward into Christianity. We can come, and there is always an element of redemption, an element of learning, an element of finding something out that we didn't know before. So
Love that. Beautiful.
there's the hanged man, or the hanged one. I leave forward, I go out of the frame. Okay, I'll stay back here. Okay. So I have one more card I want to show you.
Please.
This one's in the minor arcana. This is not one of the archetypal cards that are the first cards. This is in the 4 suits. There are 4 suits that represent earth, air, fire, and water, and they're just like the 4th suits in a regular deck of playing cards. Okay? And these are swords. Swords represent air. Okay? And air represents intellect. Think breath. Think communication. Think thought. Okay? So that's what swords represent. They represent air, and air represents intellect or communication or the way we use our mind. This is the 3 of Swords. It is often read as heartbreak. Imagine that. Look at that picture. That's how it's often read. And it's an alarming card to pull. Here it is in the steampunk deck.
Oh boy. Yeah, that looks like trouble.
Okay, yeah. You can just hear that one, can't you? Click, stop, all the gears have stopped. Uh-oh. If we take this and we think of it in terms of a 3 is always creation. 1 + 2 = 3. Baby makes 3. Baby is whatever we're creating.
Wow.
We're creating here a place where we're thinking too much. We're creating a place where heartbreak. What is heartbreak? Is heartbreak overthinking? Is heartbreak telling ourselves that this is not good? Is heartbreak self-talk? Is heartbreak self-sabotage? What are we creating here? We have to be creating something because it's a 3, and it has to be about what we're thinking and communicating because it's air, it's swords. So in the Gaian deck, Joanna Powell Colbert has taken it and transformed it into this.
Ooh.
What's happening here?
Study.
We're processing thought. He's writing. He's journaling. He's putting down thoughts. Maybe he's working out his heartbreak. So it's how we think about it. Maybe he's processing, creating. It's a 3 still, creating that and flipping the meaning.
So it becomes like a process of self-awareness.
A process of self-awareness, a process of examining, why would this be heartbreaking?
Yes. Yes. What are you telling yourself that your heart is breaking? What story, what drama have you gotten lost in that this can help you see, oh, I'm telling myself this, is it really true? How do I know?
If this card comes up, there is a perception at that point that there is heartbreak, that we have created and are talking about and are thinking about heartbreak in some way or form. Doesn't have to be, obviously, it doesn't have to be romantic. But how do we process that? How do we get through that? How do we use this message? How do we use this energy? How do we flip it? So it's not negative anymore. It's useful.
Fantastic. I love this, how empowering this is. You're really guiding us to right perception of each of these cards. And from the standpoint of confidence, what could be more confidence building than taking what looks like a terrible message, a terrible fate, a terrible situation, changing the way you look at it and thinking, oh, I'm lost in the drama here. If I can rise above that and see what this message is really here to tell me. So you can do this in relationships. You can do this with events in your life, with situations that you find yourself in.
Yes.
What am I meant to learn from this? What is this situation telling me?
Mm-hmm. Why is my subconscious bringing this image up for me?
That danged old reticular activation system.
Right. Why is my intuition going in this direction and bringing this image up for me to look at? How can I use this?
Yes. So instead of going into fear, you're going into how can I use this?
Mm-hmm.
So confidence building. I absolutely love that.
So, well, that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I thought that you and I could find a meeting place for this that would be very helpful, and that we could use, and that we could help other people use too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being our instrument of right perception today.
Thank you so much, Moira. It's always so much fun to talk with you.
I love doing this with you. Thank you, Jen.
I do too. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And Moira is the author of
Love Your Way to Success, 5 Keys to Confidence for Creative Women Entrepreneurs. And the whole energy of seeking and praying for and finding the miracle of right perception permeates this book. It is all about helping you to see yourself, your story about your life, your story about things that have happened to you in a new light, in a way that empowers you, just the way Ginny's tarot interpretations empower you.
And one of the tools that you can use is the tarot. And my book is Tarot Made Easy, First Steps to Enjoying the Tarot. You can find that on Amazon too. So we have tools that intersect.
Yes. Yes.
So,
all to help you create the highest good in your life.
Thank you, Moira.
You are welcome. Thank you, Ginny.
enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
I look forward
Thank
to
you, everybody.
soon. Thank you.